chastity, right? I started pursuing chastity. It wasn't like, I was like, I just want to white knuckle and try to behave good for the church, right? It wasn't like that. It was like, I knew that when you give a gift that matters, you will experience joy, right? My mom loves black licorice. So when I would get black licorice at Halloween, I would give it to mom. It's like, get this out of my face, right? No joy, no real joy in giving black licorice away for me. But something that I like, let's say like, I don't know, potato chips or something like that. Something that you like, when you give that away, it's something that's more valuable. When you give that away, it's more joyful. And I was thinking about this afterwards. I'm like, well, obviously pursuing chastity would give more joy because you're giving your sexuality to the Lord. And is your sexuality more important than a bag of chips? You know? Like, what do you think? Of course it is, right? So we should all be totally confident that we can invite people to pursue the gift of chastity and that they will experience a greater joy than what they are experiencing today. Maybe we could live that and radiate it ourselves as best as we can, and people would desire to choose it. Because really, I was first moved by the desire to choose it because of love and this encounter. But later, as I began to dig into my faith and what does this mean, I had to look at the intellectual side of things, and this is what I want to close with. Well, two things. Is that chastity includes the successful integration. Those are two words in 2357 in the Catechism. Successfully integrated, that phrase matters. And here's why. It's because we know the Catechism cannot point us to sin, okay? But if we look at the Catechism and what the meaning of sin is, it talks about countering what is true, countering right reason and truth. Well, what is true is what's been written into creation by God. So we can't counter what's been written into creation by God, but what's been written into me is that I'm a male. So for me to reject my maleness and embrace transgenderism, which I did, I was actually rejecting chastity without even taking any action. When I was embracing the identity of gay, and assuming that, well, my complement must be a person of the opposite sex, not just emotional or whatever, but like a physiological complement. It would be sensible to pursue that relationship. I was rejecting that God authored me to be complementary to a female in terms of what's written into our bodies. I was rejecting chastity in mindset before even acting on it. And this was huge for me to realize. It's like I could reject chastity in mindset without even acting on it, and it's rejected in both times when I say that being trans is who I am and being gay is who I am. Those are intrinsically rejections of chastity. And if I do that, I'm closing myself to growing in the fullness of virtue. I'm closing myself to growing in the fullness of holiness. And I'm also closing myself to growing in the fullness of Christ. Which means that to some degree I'm anti-virtue, anti-holiness, and anti-Christ in mindset. I don't think people are talking about that yet.